So Prabhupada said, you have to grow your own food. You cannot trust the system, because we've already seen it during COVID. We didn't get so many things. We didn't get vegetables for some days. We didn't have rice in the local stores. If it happened once, guess what? It'll happen again. It might happen again, I would say. So that is Swami Prabhupada on the left side. This is my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Vikasa Swami. So he is big into farm movements. He started one in Salem, Tamil Nadu, Karumandurai, Tamil Nadu, Srikakulam, Andhra Pradesh, and I contributed to the Srikakulam project also. And now we are thinking, it's not just about India. We need food safety in America also. And one of my Microsoft colleagues, he bought a 5-acre land and he bought and put a well. He said, if things go south, I need to be able to grow my own food. And believe it or not, I saw 5 properties about a week ago. And this morning I went, all 5 were sold. So other people are ahead of me in the game. Everybody is now moving to rural areas. From cities, from New York, a lot of people are moving out to smaller towns. And the movement is already back to farms. Movement has already started. This gentleman on the right is Harivilas Maharaj. I think Raj and Venkatesh also met him when they were here in Seattle. Yeah. Chandar, you didn't meet him. But if you go to Salem, you'll meet this gentleman, Bhakti Vikas Swami. He is an Irishman, but just like we came to America, he went to India because India is a spiritual place. So we are greedy for money. He was greedy for God. So he went the opposite direction, from west to the east. We came from east to the west. Like that. So this is my institute, our institute, Samamish Institute of Technology Advanced Sciences. So I conduct courses on the under its auspices. And I'm the first staff member. We'll be getting other people. Of course, there's no salary. I don't take salary from you guys to teach this stuff. So soil is a very important resource for serving Krishna by growing things. Describe the soil properties from a Vaishnava farm perspective. That's our goal. Basic soil properties and limitations by observing a soil profile, and provide encouragement for the Varnashrama, which means farm projects, ISKCON farm projects. So soil has a lot of definitions like fertility, chemistry, physics, microbiology, conservation, pedology, etc. Soil is formed from rocks. Rocks are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. And most of them form basalt. Some form sandstone, some form limestone. The good thing about limestone, which I covered a few weeks ago, is if somebody dies and you package them in limestone, the body will be preserved for a long time. In Iraq, they found bodies preserved in limestone, which were 2 million years old. By dating of the limestone, they found out carbon dating. And in India recently, one of our spiritual masters, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, passed away. So I saw the Samadhi ceremony online in Mayapur in India. So they carefully packed his body in limestone. They put a lot of salt and they put him in the ground about 20 feet deep. So they say that nothing will happen. It's like it'll be preserved. In limestone, everything gets preserved for a long time. But the point here is all these rocks become finely ground and they become earth. And they become sand, silt, and clay. Clay particles are very small. Silt is somewhere between sand and clay. And sand, as you know, is very shiny because it's made out of zircon, tourmaline, hornblende. All these are like heavy metals. Sometimes they're made of light metals like feldspar and mica. Mica is very easy to kind of break down. So there are some aspects of soil. Most important thing is this called organic matter. Without organic matter, you cannot grow crops in the soil. And if there is too much salt, you cannot grow crops. And there is a ratio. If this ratio is broken, then soil will not retain water. That's why you'll see in parts of Rajasthan, there is a desert because there is not enough clay, there is not enough organic matter. And if you Bing or Google, you'll see in the 1918, 1920 time frame, when this flu happened, several other things also happened in America. It's called Dust Bowl. What happened was they were harvesting too many crops every year on the ground, and they killed all the bison, or many of the bison. So typically the bison dung, cow dung, fertilizes the soil and makes it ready for crops. But when they killed all the bison, what happened? There is no cow dung. So there is no organic matter. So it was just loam, salt, and silt. How do you grow plants? So the whole Nebraska, what are the states next to Nebraska? Anybody know geography? So there is Illinois. Left of Illinois, there is one state, Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota maybe. And then next to that is Nebraska. So those are called the um, food belt of America, right? Most of the wheat grows there. So that became into a massive dust bowl. America was not always this rich. A lot of people died also back then. So then people came to their senses. They established what's known as A&M universities in America, agricultural and mechanical universities. Just like in Dallas, there is some Dallas area, there is something called Texas A&M, right? Then in state of Washington, we have Washington State University, which is an agricultural university. So America, this whole IT nonsense came only in the last 25 years. Prior to that, it was a fantastic agricultural country, right? They used to provide wheat for half of the world. So we live in a very, very important country actually of the world, because we can technically grow enough food to feed the entire world. So much land we got here. So that's why now United States Department of Agriculture is giving grants. If somebody's grandkid wants to go to college and learn some other sciences, they are giving grants. Don't study other subjects, study agriculture and go back to your farms. So USDA is actually giving grants to support agriculture, because all these young people want to sit on their butt and code Java and C++. So US government doesn't want that. They want people to continue to grow agriculture. So here are some profiles, soil profiles. Hygroscopic, water is not retained that much. In capillary soils, water is retained, and in gravitational soils, water actually seeps to the groundwater. The entire Texas and Oklahoma sits on the Ogwalla aquifer, because there is no natural rivers in Texas, right? So what they do, they put deep bore wells into the aquifer and they pump water out. And in the last 10 years, they consumed a lot of water. So if this pattern continues, then Texas and Oklahoma can become deserts in 50 years, because they don't have natural rivers. They rely on groundwater, and the polar ice caps are melting. Typically what they used to do, they used to melt slowly to feed the rivers, but now they're melting way too fast. So the water is just going into ocean without being used, right? So fresh water is becoming salt water. My daughter did a course in University of Washington on earth sciences. So I was like reading her notes. We are living in borrowed time. Another 50 years, America will go through some pretty big problems. But still, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, that's where and Nebraska, that's where most of the crops for America come from. For example, in Washington, we don't grow rice or wheat. We don't. So we rely on other states, right? And for cauliflower and broccoli, we rely on California. If tomorrow California and Texas declare independence, we are toast. We can't do anything, right? That's the reality of the situation. So here is some, atmospheric profile, pressure with capillary water versus hygroscopic water. So where I'm going with all this is, we have to maintain this balance of carbon to nitrogen ratio. So a 40:1 ratio is norm. We have to bring it down to 10:1 by decomposing the organic matter, which changes to something called humus. And during that process, a lot of carbon dioxide is released. Now you have to capture that carbon dioxide back. And how do you do that? You put a thin layer of cow dung on earth, and that acts as a carbon sink. There's a lot of research going on in University of Washington, where my daughter is studying, and I'm also learning these things. So it's very important. Otherwise, humanity will be at risk actually. Forget about having wealth. People will die. Just like in Somalia, in the 60s and 70s, when there was a famine, almost like 35% of the country was wiped out. You cannot eat computers, as I was saying earlier. You need real food. So what do these microorganisms do? They utilize the soil nitrogen. N stands for nitrogen. So there is this formula NPK. N for nitrogen, P for phosphorus, and K for potassium. So this balance of NPK is required for soil to produce food for us. So average is 10.1, 10:1 to 12:1. In legumes and farm manure, it's usually 20:1 to 30:1. Straw, it is 100:1, this C/N ratio. Sawdust is much higher, which means killing trees and converting them into wood will generate a lot of carbon. Right? There is a relationship between organic matter and the nitrogen content. Nitrogen is very important. C/N ratios are very important for agriculture to happen, right? And then there is a very gentle ecosystem in the ground where you see a soil community has, nitrates, humidification, structure, organic matter, decomposition, and natural nutrients. And then the soil organisms are of two kinds, like macroflora and soil microflora, like fungi, algae, bacteria, actinomycete. And then you have classification of all these things. This is the food web. So from the plants, shoots and roots, we get organic matter from their bacteria form, from their protozoa form. Nematodes, like earthworms form. Nematodes are eaten up by arthropods, and birds eat them or animals eat them. So there is this delicate balance. If you break this balance, we'll also die. So again, a description of bacteria, actinomycetes, fungi, protozoa, and nematodes. So these are very important. Bacteria is important. Soil is a living thing. It's not a dead thing. And fungus is important. And then you have the various kinds of fungi. That's a plural for fungus. And bacteria is a plural for bacterium, like that. And then you have various animals in the soil. So this balance is very important. Like I go on walking once in a while, and I see so many ants, so many little creatures walking. So they're all very, very important. Otherwise, if soil dies, we die. So these are macrofauna. Flora means plants and creepers, that kind of thing. Fauna means little insects and animals. So why do we study soil? Because studying soil is a great integrator, right? It's a medium of crop production. It filters water. Why we are able to drink good water? Because many layers, about 10, 15 feet of soil filters that water, and good water goes into the aquifer below. And when you pump it using a borewell, you get very good tasting water, except if it is in Hyderabad in India, where even if you go to 200 feet, the water is contaminated. But at least where I live, 10 feet, 15 feet, you get very good water if you drill a borewell. And soil is also a producer and absorber of gases. It absorbs carbon dioxide, otherwise you'll be dead. If soil and ocean didn't absorb carbon dioxide along with plants, then it's home to organisms, medium for plant growth. It decomposes waste. And it's a snapshot. Our future generations will know how we lived by digging through the earth. So loose surface of earth is soil, as distinguished from bedrock. Bedrock is below that. And then you have loam soil has 45% mineral, 5% organic, 25% water, and 25% air. Aeration is very important. In the salty beds near ocean, there is not enough air, so you cannot grow plants. You'll have other kinds of plants like crazy plants, but not the good ones, which will provide you vegetables and fruits. So there is a science about, a landscape is divided into many polypedons, and within a pedon, you have these levels. And there are many things that are happening, additions in form of powdered rock. There are losses in terms of carried away by water into the ocean. There are translocations from different layers in the strata. Then there are transformations by moving of the earth due to earthquakes or even regular movements. And there is weathering, right? So weathering of the environment causes soil to come. So what you are walking on, to make 1 inch of topsoil, it requires a million years. and you may destroy it in 3 days. You'll get a tractor, or you may, get some kind of harvester, and you just pull all the soil to one side. So human beings have a great capability to destroy things. So this is the pedon. So the upper mineral horizons are A horizons, O and A. A are darker color, O is a little lighter, or A are darker color horizons. And then below that is B. So the roots sometimes go into the B. And C is the unconsolidated parent material. Means this is largely undisturbed during formation of the earth. And here is, just like in thermodynamics, we used to have tables when I was in engineering. Soil scientists also have tables. So if you say 10% of clay mixed with 90% of sand, it is still considered sand. 80% it's considered loamy sand. And if it is only 10% of sand and 10% of clay and mostly silt, then it's considered silt, like that. So you go through this and you figure out what is what. So soil is basically matter, organic matter, mineral matter, organic matter, air and water. Minerals means like you have calcium carbonate, chalk, or you may have sodium carbonate, various kinds of things. So there are some sciences around what is a granular type of soil, whether it is blocky versus angular, prismatic versus columnar. And there are certain things that happen above the ground also. For example, legumes like groundnut or peanut, as they call in America, they grow certain roots on top also. And they produce some jelly on the top, which will kind of drive away bugs, and sometimes bacteria live in these jellies. So there is this very gentle equilibrium between these various things that we need to understand and support. So roots are below, shoots are above. When you apply fertilizer, only 10 to 40% is taken by the plant, 60 to 90% gets runoff. And anybody know what happens to this runoff of nitrogen fertilizer from the ground? Anybody has heard any newspapers?
Gets into the water.
Yeah, it goes into the water, and then from your stream it goes into, next to Texas, it will go to Gulf of Mexico. Near Philadelphia, it goes into Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, and that's why you are seeing orange blooms there. So too much nitrogen means one type of algae will grow, and at the expense of the coral reefs. Coral reefs, they may look like static things, but actually they are living beings, right? Coral reefs are very important for aquatic ecosystems. And then fish start dying. And when fish start dying, then they will reduce the ability of ocean to absorb carbon dioxide. And then humans will die. So that is why if you go like Bhagavad Gita, Torah, all these are only 5,000 years old. What happened to the people before that? It's not like we were all monkeys. There was a massive wiping out of civilization before that. So modern civilization is only 5,000, 6,000 years old. You cannot trace before that. Of course, scriptures like Bhagavad Gita say that Krishna gave this knowledge to sun god 120 million years ago, and then Bible will talk about Adam and Eve. But there is no, documented evidence other than scriptures. Why? Because we wiped ourselves out previously, and we are again working very hard to kill ourselves. So there is an entire department in University of Washington which is working on this topic, earth sciences, right? How to reduce NPK outflow from plants, from the fertilizers. See, we became very greedy. First, we put little fertilizer, we got little benefit, right? Then we put more, then we put more, then we started dumping by the truckloads. But plants cannot absorb everything. So 90% goes waste in some cases, 90%. And that ends up in the ocean waters. And ocean is also a living thing. It's called the conveyor belt of ocean. From Japan, the water goes all the way beyond Hawaii and comes back to Seattle area, taking 40 years. So there is a conveyor belt gradually. So the pollution that we see in Seattle area right now was produced by the Japanese 40 years ago during their electronic boom. So we are paying for their sins now. And when we pass stool in the morning, for people who live in Seattle, all this gets collected in one place in the Puget Sound beyond Seattle. And when nobody's looking, they dump all of this into the Pacific Ocean. So in the olden days in India, what they used to do, people used to pass stool on solid ground. Then somebody used to come collect all the stool and compost it. Then it used to become fertilizer. So we never dumped stool into Bay of Bengal or Arabian Sea in India, at least as far as I know. Right? So there was a lecture of my daughter was attending. It is called, oh, what happens to your poop? Well, it ends up in the Pacific Ocean. So that's how, they make it look very silly, but it's a reality, right? So we are putting all our poop into the Pacific Ocean. But that was not the idea originally. You take animal dung and human dung, and then you compost it, and it becomes top class fertilizer, because human beings eat very good stuff, right? You're not eating grass. You're eating what? Cashews, almonds, right? Coconut water, carrot juice. You're drinking and eating very good stuff. So your stool is also very nutritious, actually. But what you're doing right now, you're just flushing it down the toilet instead of using it for agriculture. So yeah, we are extremely capable of destroying our planet in the next 50 years. Unless, of course, that's why spiritual organizations like the Hare Krishna movement, we are focused on moving towards farm communities and living on the land, so that we don't, at least in a limited sense, protect the planet Earth. We will not be able to protect the whole thing, but you got to start somewhere, right? Like Gandhi used to say, change starts with you. You cannot complain. If you want to change, you start changing things. And that's how we got India's independence. Just one man with stubborn determination. Of course, other people also helped him. But so there is something called plant growth promoting microorganism, PGPMs, and then plant growth inhibiting microorganisms, PGIM. So we want to focus on the PGPMs. And there's a lot of research. Like, America is a fantastic place. American universities have so much knowledge. Before this whole Java, C++, and IT business came, Americans were researching this stuff. They were very, very determined people. So yeah, there is so much to learn and apply it in our life. Do you agree, Raj? When we came to America 25 years ago, we used to study all these things.
Yeah, that, like you said, back then it was primarily agriculture, mechanical engineering, environmental engineering, right? So,
Yeah. Environmental engineering is what? Protecting your environment so that we can, take it to the future generations. Now we only focus on Tesla and, programming languages, and we are losing out all that knowledge, actually. This generation is getting dumber. What's the
So,
use of having supercomputers and then there's no good quality food to eat? By the
Guruji, when you came, you did not, you people did not study computer science or
computer
electronics.
science was just coming. When I came,
Uh-huh.
internet was invented after I came to America.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, internet is not going to, internet will help you to do the things like what we are doing, video conferencing, but that's not real education. Real education is production of food, and even better education is spiritual education of your soul. Who are you? Where did you come from? And what is your destination after death? But we are progressively moving away from real education to money-making education, right? See, I'll tell you, if tomorrow there is a famine, none of these computer scientists know how to grow even one, what is the cilantro, one plant of cilantro. Nobody knows. You cannot always rely on Mexican workers to do for you. What if tomorrow they decide not to come? And that's likely to happen. Who knows? Corona may finish 30% of the Mexican population. Then what will you do? By the way, this astrologer, one of my friends sent a link. There are two. One is Narayana Murthy and second is Narsimha. They said that December there'll be one more bout of viruses. They didn't say it was corona. And then in the next 15 years, there'll be a series of forest fires, earthquakes, things like that. And 20% of the world's population might be eliminated because we are overstretching the capability of Mother Earth. So I don't know whether it's true or not, but this is what I heard. So by plowing and overtilling, we are increased the erosion. You know the concept of erosion? The top layer is getting eroded. They talk about this in environmental engineering also, which Raj studied. And when I was doing my GATE, graduate aptitude test in engineering, I did one subject, earth sciences also. So I've known this for 35 years now. By plowing and overtilling, we have increased erosion by 10 to 100 times the natural rates. So whatever Mother Earth created for 1,000,000 years, they wiped it all out in a matter of 100 years in the Dust Bowl, Nebraska, Kansas, and all those areas. And now they learned their lesson, and now they are trying to protect the topsoil. So this dark spongy material formed from decomposed plant and animal tissue. You cannot make it in a factory. You need to decompose. So much research has focused on adding organic matter back to soils to restore them. So now there is a whole restoration thing for the Puget Sound where I live. The state of Washington is investing billions of dollars to fix our ecosystem. So soil should ideally have 33 to 50% humus, organic matter. About 5% living organisms like nematodes, earthworms, those kind of things. Fresh residue from like the leafy matter that fell down yesterday, day before yesterday. And then decomposing organic matter, 33 to 50%. So there are bacteria, fungi, viruses. A single handful of soil can contain tens of thousands. So this came from USDA, Department of Agriculture. See, right now nobody talks about USDA, but that's the most important department. We only talk of Elon Musk, but that is not going to help us. This is more important. How our next wave of food is going to come from. So they work to break down complex organic materials, including dead plants and animals. They often work in teams to complete the biochemical processes. So there is like a teamwork going on between these guys. When you till using this artificial machinery, you crush the aggregates, unlocking their carbon and allowing microbes and soil fauna to attack it. So there is a certain size of the earth that is needed, but when you use this tilling machinery, it crushes and breaks them. What are you going to do? You have to go back to the natural way. For millions of years, India and China had people bending and planting the trees. They never used machinery. So Americans are learning what Indians and Chinese knew for millions of years now. So that creates a temporary feast for soil microbes, but eventually they deplete their food supply and die off. Without the healthy community, nutrients are no longer recycled. Opportunistic pests can invade and farmers rely increasingly on chemicals. So this is another problem. Chemical fertilizer, NPK, created by all these companies like Monsanto, Cargill. What do? Initially, they'll raise your yield, but then they have killed all the soil microbes, so later on yields go down. So some microbes are like weeds. They grow quickly in food-rich environments, but are sloppy eaters and waste much of water they consume. Others are slow growing but hardy, waste little and are able to survive in terms of starvation or stress. So promoting the good bacteria versus the bad bacteria should be the job of a soil scientist. And again, we have to maximize the proportion of plant carbon that is transformed into soil organic matter. Because organic matter is what we live. Like when I was in college in 12th class, we had two chemistries, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. Organic chemistry is more important because that's where life is supported. And healthy soil should also contain microbiomes that help prevent disease. Like some of our friends were doing some farming here in Seattle area. There's something called an early blight and a late blight. So if early blight comes, it's a problem. Late blight means like the bacteria on the leaves, they'll start eating away the leaves. If late blight comes also, it's a problem. So there has to be that gentle balance. So we need to go through this paradigm shift. So we used to think that soil organic matter was formed from leftover bits of plants. However, we understood now that soil formation goes through different dynamic. Most persistent form of soil carbon are formed primarily from dead microbial bodies rather than from leftover plant parts. So these bacteria are dying, right? Their body itself is fertilizer. So vast majority of old soil carbon appears to have undergone microbial decomposition. While plants are original source of carbon for soils, so microbes control its phase by using it as a food. Yeah. And then soil holds limited fertilizer. It can only hold like 10%, as we saw on the previous slide. The rest gets drained to field drains, and from there to streams, and streams to ocean. And then they start killing the ocean flora and fauna. Flora means vegetable matter, fauna means animal matter. So if you give 100 gram, 3 to 8 grams are consumed by microorganisms, 3 to 8 gram by non-humic compounds, 10 to 30 by humic compounds. That's it. Rest goes waste. And here is a map of cowpeas being decomposed by bacteria and fungus. So initially carbon dioxide production increases, but gradually it tapers off. And then initially the nitrogen trioxide level is low, but over a period of time, the nitrogen trioxide grows. So this is why they teach you chemistry. Don't think chemistry is something to be memorized and later after the exam you burn your textbook. That's not why they teach you chemistry. They teach you chemistry so that you can live by understanding these interactions between carbon dioxide, nitrogen trioxide, etc. And there is also concept of cover crop. You cannot put the same crop again and again. What will happen? The whole thing will start decaying, the whole farm. So you put a cover crop like peanuts, which will restore the N, the nitrogen in the ground, because the root nodules of cover crops restore this energy. So in the soil, there are 1,000 to 2,000 times more microbes associated with the root and are living in bare or tilled soils. And they build the soil organic matter. So building soil organic matter requires N, nitrogen, P, phosphorus, K, potassium, and S. I forget what S is. So winter cover crops soak up excess soil nutrients and supply food to all the microbes. So in this way, cover crops are helping the microbes regenerate the environment. So if we had put cover crops in Rajasthan and those places, things would not have been so bad. But slowly people are learning now because necessity is the mother of invention. They are being forced to. So there was this experiment done by NIH, National Institute of Health, US government. So they did with no fertilizer, with nitrogen fertilizer for bacterial, manure compost plus bacterial. Manure compost means you take cow dung or human dung, put it in a big pit, let it naturally decompose. Because there'll be too many acids as soon as the animal passes stool or human passes stool. Those acids have to be neutralized and those gases have to be left out into the atmosphere. So when they did this experiment, they did a lot of research. I think we'll not go into all of this. This is too much. This is more like a research paper. So they did M treatment, MB treatment, and let's look at the conclusion. So they are looking at p-values, statistics. Manure compost, especially manure compost plus bacterial fertilizer, consistently resulted in higher levels of soil respiration, means breathing rate, cultivable microorganisms, and soil enzyme activities, while N fertilizers showed no significant influence or negative results. Right? So manure compost everything. Have a big compost bin, compost everything. And don't use chemical fertilizer, use bacterial, where bacteria have naturally died in the older earth. So fertilizers, especially manure compost, significantly enhance soil microbial properties in response to increase in soil physiochemical properties. From a soil microbial point of view, manure compost application can be used as an environmentally friendly and rapid measure for restoring degraded cropland. We have to restore our cropland, otherwise we won't have the same level of crops in the future. Like in Chennai area, when the British were there about 200 years ago, 1 hectare was producing 18 quintals of rice or something like that. After using so much chemical fertilizer in Tamil Nadu, now it came down to 10 quintals per hectare. So it shows that the olden technology was better. Forget what the specific technology is. Whatever they were doing before is better because they were getting about 80% more yield from the same hectare back then compared to now. So there is something for us to learn. I mean, just artificial fertilizer itself is not sufficient. We have to go through these natural, primarily the cow dung, right? That's why cow is very important in Vedic culture, because one cow can do miracles. The cow will give urine which can be used to cure cancer. People actually drink cow urine to cure cancer. Cow dung is used fertilizer. Milk is used to make nice rasagulla, gulab jamun, right? So cow is our friend. It always helps. And then when the cow walks in the fields, it will dig the ground a little bit. So there's so many ways the cow and the bull help us. But what has happened now, both in India and in America, there's no respect for the cow. So in America, they eat a lot of beef, and India is not far behind. India is the second largest beef producing country in the world. America is the first, right? So with massive killing of the cow and the bull and relying on artificial fertilizers, you are actually destroying our future. So we have done experiment here in Seattle. We have 30 cows, and there is so much cow dung spread all over the fields. Whatever vegetables we put, boom, they just come up. And we only have 10 acres here from the temple property, just 10 acres. Actually, we have 2 farms, 10 plus 9, 19 acres, but they are in 2 different locations. So just the cow can transform American, and cow was doing that for millions of years. They used to call it the bison, which looks more like a buffalo rather than a cow. But then they said, no, modern. They put all the buffalo in one place. They did not let them roam. So where is the question of, getting the right fertilizer for the ground? And then they replaced it with artificial fertilizer, which started killing the microbes. So food prices are increasing, that's why. Okay, any questions? All this is to eventually prove that the traditional Vedic society where cow was worshipped is better than the modern society when it comes to eating food. No questions?
No, but good refresher, Baugar, after a long time, geology and biology. It's good.
Yeah. And there are some people like this. What's that, Venkatesh?
And the money supply.
Yeah. So here are some people from top universities like Purdue and University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. They're saying, we see that there is a lot of tillage, no cover crops, a system of high intensity chemical dependent farming, that the soil doesn't function properly. The biology is not doing much. It's not performing as we need it to. We are essentially destroying the functionality of soil. And this happened only in the past 50 years, believe it or not. It's not a very, this disease is very recent disease. Has been going way down last 50 years. We see organic matter levels in some fields as only 1%. It should be how much? Remember this graph? 33%, right? Yeah, 33% should be there, but it's only 1% now. So that's an alarming decline in this, right? We need to take it to 5 to 6%. So this is across America. The good news is that is that soil will come back if you give it a chance, right? So if you put in more organic matter in there, it will become robust and resilient. So you want to keep higher and higher yields, but you're shooting yourselves in the foot doing that, right? You'll say, I want more than last year, a year over year growth. But Earth can only do so much, so don't abuse it. And Gulf of Mexico, we are seeing the algal blooms by high nitrogen levels by the fertilizer. And then we start wondering if this is really what we want. So we need to work with natural systems instead of trying to fight against it. Nature is always going to win in the end. How will it win? It will just kill a bunch of human beings to retain the balance. That is what corona is. People ask me again and again. So from a spiritual perspective, what is this coronavirus? It is man-made basically. We are killing so many animals that the balance has to be restored. So viruses will come and kill some human beings. So the balance will be restored again. So our karma keeps coming back to us. So the usual program is let's kill everything and grow what we want. That's not going to work.
So, Prabhuji, in the previous slide, talking of, Roundup, the glyphosate in US, there was a school teacher in West, he got a cancer because of that. I think it's glyphosate, but something related to wheat killer created by Roundup. And he got like, some $1 million or something, like going to court. But, why I'm saying this here, I went back and even in my, 10, 15 years back, when I was with my grandpa and all, I have seen that people back home, they use a lot of this Roundup thing. And I'm sure, they would have, got cancer because of that, but no one aware of it. And no one filed lawsuit or anything. I mean, they get killed, indirectly by using that, with no knowledge about it.
Yeah. If you look at Vandana Shiva, she was also here in Seattle about 12 or 15 years ago when there was an international conference here in Seattle. Vandana Shiva is a activist in India. So she says these companies like Cargill and these agro-pharmaceutical companies, they are killing India basically.
Yeah.
Because
I saw that one of the
last 50 years only. Prior to that, human beings used to, in India for millions of years, they just used cow dung, which also works as a pesticide because it will kill all the unnecessary microbes. And then you can use neem. Neem means it is a little bitter, right? It has got chemicals to kill the unwanted bacteria in the farms. So they used to use cow dung and neem, and they were doing organic farming for millions of years. All these other medicines only came last 50 years only.
Yeah, in Erode, there was a person called Namalwar. He's no more, but with his training and all, he was actually a PhD graduate or something, worked in Agri University, and then he quit his job after seeing all this, the fertilizer companies dominating the board. He started, helping people to farm naturally, and a lot of people, thousands of farmers now going naturally. They're doing all this Panchagavya, and yes, you say neem, and I think you shared one of the slide that says pseudo or something, some bacteria things. Correct. They mix and they spray to things. It's coming, but it's not to the great extent. But hopefully one day, we will reach going for organic farming.
In Tamil Nadu, one person I saw on the YouTube, he has his own company and all employees wear like uniforms. And he has got, I think, the world's largest yield on turmeric. And
Wow.
he does vertical farming, means he will have these turmeric plants on multiple rows in a shelf, right? And he has got the world's highest yield of turmeric. So, I mean, people are not stupid. It's just that these corporations have a way of destroying things. But left to themselves, people are very innovative actually. Whether it's in India or in America, people are very innovative if you let the natural processes take course.
Yeah, 30 to 40 years back, farmers don't rely on anyone. Rather, people rely on them to get the produce.
Correct.
But things have, changed 100% on the other side. Now, even for tractors for plowing instead cows, and everything like machines. And end of the day, they harvest. They need people do all that, right? And end of the day, if the produce going at low price, they lose, and that's what a lot of suicides coming.
Yeah, so many people, thousands of suicides in Andhra, coastal Andhra, in Telangana, in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka. Like something like 12,000 farmers committed suicide because previously you'll grow what you need. That's it. Now you have to pay for the tractor, you have to pay for Cargill, for the seeds, Monsanto for the fertilizers, and by the time you pay all the bills, you are in negative.
Yeah, that's sad, and they are not aware of it, and always. I think these guys are well trained in a way. They get the information. Without them, we cannot get a good deal, right? So they have that fake profile, and got inside, and that's where everyone got locked in that.
Yeah. So this is what Americans are realizing. Although Americans were also responsible for introducing all these things around the world. We need to work with natural system instead of trying to fight against it. What's the point of fighting against nature? Nature is very powerful actually. Just like you see, because of the global warming, it is taking longer in California to control those fires. They said, we always had fires. For the last 1,000 years, we had fires in California. But we knew how to control them. But because of global warming, it is becoming more difficult to control the fire now. Right? So what happens, like San Jose, one of the richest places in the world, where you have Google, Microsoft, Sun Microsystems, all these top companies, right? Now they are struggling to breathe because the air is full of pollution now, forest fires. So, but we created it. You cannot blame anybody. We created it. So you better don't fight with nature, stay with nature. There is a reason for this scriptural knowledge, right? Krishna says certain things in the Bhagavad Gita for a certain reason. If you say, no, I know better, I'll invent my own religion, then you will have to pay the price. That's what's happening right now in the world. People are paying the price, whether it's in India or America. By killing cows, like the cow population under the British was 4 times the number of cows we have in India today. Even British didn't destroy the Indian cows so much as Indians have started destroying. Right now, wherever there is a pond, right, they'll fill it with mud and build a building on top. That's why Chennai was under floods a few years ago. You remember that? Because there was nowhere for water to go. When it rained, you need this natural aqueduct system, like small streams and ponds. What they did, they put mud and build everywhere, buildings. So there is no place for water to go. So Chennai was under floods. So we are creating this monster actually.
Yeah, there was a big water stream. I think they showed, after the flood, came up. It's all like built, in the center of the, location. They built a lot of houses and apartments, and that's how they changed the whole, the path, the natural path of water flow.
But nature is very powerful, right? It will still flow. Whether your building is there, then it will destroy your building and go. It will not stop. And then you cannot blame, oh God, why are you doing this to me? My building fell down. No, you built the building in its way. So it should break down naturally. So this is what's happening. Foolishness. People don't want to listen to scriptures. People don't want to listen to nature. The American Indians here were always listening to nature. Like the Columbia River where I live, close to Seattle, was like the highway. They used to transport all their produce on the Columbia River. Then what happened? Automobile came, they started build highways, and they are transporting it on the highways. So now that whole ecosystem of Columbia River is broken down. And the American Indians used to feed the salmon. They used to put, certain things that the salmon liked. So salmon also used to be there in large numbers in Columbia River, like that. Now they're saying, hey, where are the salmon? Why are they not coming? Well, you are not feeding them, so why would they come? So it's like that. So ultimately, if you observe natural cycles, then you will be more humble and you will start surrendering to the Lord. If you think that you are too smart, you may be smart for like 20, 30, 40 years. One fine day, it will hit you. Like San Jose, Silicon Valley, they thought they are very smart in high-tech companies and all that. Now they cannot stop forest fires. They have to fill the air right now. So it's going to hit some point. Okay, so let's stop there for today. Any questions before we retire?